Johan, your host for this session, and thank you for tuning in. That said, if you guys want to contribute our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we are doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. So, for this edition of the Reality Bang, we are going to have a very, very special discussion. We're going to have Gen Z versus Burnout. And of course, we had to bring Johan here back with us. It's
Of
indeed great
course,
to have you on the show.
of course. This topic nobody else should discuss.
Yeah, I mean, rather than the Gen Zs themselves. So
Yeah, the Gen
let's
Zs
get right
themselves.
into it.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah. So my very first question is now, why does Gen Z experience burnout like so early in their life? We are talking like 15, 16, 17 years, and they're like already so burned out than their parents who are like 40 or something. So why is that?
For me, I think it's a bunch of things that that has boiled up and added on to why, like, at such a younger age itself, Gen Zs are getting a lot of stress. I think one of the things that we can obviously talk about is social media, which I wanted. Like, I think that's one of
Yeah.
the first things that came to my mind, at least, when this question came up, because I think when you're spending so many hours on Instagram and you're scrolling through looking at other people, what they're doing, and you're really that makes you feel inadequate, no? So I think and the
Yeah.
moment you see someone your age itself doing so well, or you go to the LinkedIn profile and see that they're doing a much better, they're in a much better job position than us. And I think all of
Yeah.
that really somewhat I think gives them a push to work harder, or try to do something bigger, or they want to achieve more than what they are doing right now. And but
Mm.
the actual the part is, even though if they're seeing someone who's doing very good, or they're doing great at a job or something, they themselves probably are facing difficulties in their jobs that that they're not telling to the social media. But still,
Yeah.
from our side, from one side, when we look at it, how it's going, very good for them. I think it really makes us feel very inadequate, like looking at the job, because we know what we are doing. We don't know entirely what we're doing, they are doing, but from outside it looks all, amazing and interesting. So we really think that what they are doing is much more interesting than what we are doing, right? And also,
Yeah.
I think this whole hustle culture, that's come with our generation. I think the millennials began this whole thing, and I think they pushed it. And I think
Mm.
Gen Zs are the ones who are just sunk and draining in that whole hustle culture, right? And
Exactly.
I think it's just tuned into every single person's mind that they have to, apart from their daily job, they also have to put in other sorts of effort, to make a living, because let's not forget the cost of living also has increased like crazy and for most of the people at what they are making now, it's not enough. And also we should realize there are some people at 20s who are not just trying to pay their bills at in places where the cost of living is high. They're also financially trying to keep their families also secure, so they're keeping and saving up monies for their families as well. So it's a lot of burden for them, in this sort of
Yeah.
fast pace. And when everything is so competitive, right? Everything is so
Mm.
competitive, and there are so many people who are equally, who are good at the job, who want to do what you can do, and it gets highly competitive. So I think
Yeah.
when they want, that's why I think going miles and pushing themselves, putting yourselves through those hours, I think and also one of the things is, I think Gen Z's have just started working. I mean, it's just been like 4 5 years since the whole Gen Z generation have been working. And
Yeah.
since it's the beginning, I think trying to figure out their career, it's also because they just started, no? Like, even though if we had something in our mind, the moment we started working,
Mm.
everything starts changing for everyone. And nothing
Yeah.
like what they thought they want to do will eventually change, and they'll try to take some other path. So I think because Gen Zs are just starting their career also, I think figuring it out takes a lot more time for them at this age.
Yeah, and you spoke about hustle as well, and of course, let's be honest, the entire term of hustle came into like it became much more relevant when Gen Z started using the word like every single time. Like if they go to the gym, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm hustling." If they start studying, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm
Hustling,
hustling." If they start a new project, they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm
hustling.
hustling." So I think that I think that kind of like it means like, okay, I am working hard,
Hmm.
but that just turned into a new word called hustling
Hustle.
right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, and another thing, like I think it's the lack of patience that they get so burnt out because, like you
Hmm.
spoke about the job and all, like nowadays, if a Gen Z like just starts work, they want to get on the very top position in maybe 2 3 years. Like
Hmm.
they don't want to wait for like you know the actual requirement of the position will be like maybe 10 years experience or
Hmm.
something. They want to do it in two,
Hmm.
so they are going to like really burn through
Hmm.
all their free time and all just to get to that point.
Hmm.
And when they don't get to that point, they're going to be like extremely
Hmm.
exhausted and they're going to be like, yeah, what am I doing this for?
Hmm.
And that's why nowadays we see like most of the Gen Z guys, they're not staying in that one specific job for over extended periods of
Hmm.
time. Like I think the max they can stay is maybe 1 2 years if the job is quite good.
Hmm.
But if it is not, they just end up burning themselves out and they're like, okay, I need to try something
Hmm.
new.
No, but I think the fact that they want to achieve everything within a couple of years, and I think that's itself is the
Yeah,
big mistake that they want to do, because that's why
exactly.
like a lot of people end up jumping into freelancing within like a couple of years, no? Like within they'll
Yeah.
just work for a couple of years and they're like, I think I know how everything works, and they get into freelancing and they are
Yeah.
struggling when they're freelancing itself. And because you are literally on your own trying to figure out everything when you're freelancing, and the kind of challenges that
Hmm.
gets thrown into someone when they're freelancing, that's the time where they wish that they had more industry experience, and that does matter eventually. But yeah, you're right about
Yeah.
that part.
Yeah. So this whole thing, I can term it in the word of productivity. So
Mm,
that moves on to the next question. Now, is there like, or is the constant need to be productive like
mm,
making burnout even worse for Gen
mm.
Zs?
I think that's what I mentioned. That I think when you see everyone else, when you see your own peers, doing something, you want to go beyond, what you're actually doing. Which is why, uh, apart from the actual job they have, why a lot of people end up doing, somewhat, I can say, like shifting their hobby into their, making a living out of that itself. So which is why you see a lot of
Yeah.
people who are, let's say, who are musicians, they are doing their 9 to 5 job, and then after that you see them in the weekends, and you see them post work, they just over there doing one gig after the another. And it is
Hmm.
that is because music is not financially a very sustainable industry in India. That is one of the main reasons why they have to do a 9 to 5 job, and they do that. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you
Yeah.
see people also on Instagram, where they're becoming content creators as well, no? And sometimes when
Hmm.
they end up booming up and they do good, they end up quitting their jobs and they do go for this. I think so. When you see all these kind of stories, no, where they were doing this 9 to 5 job and then they ended up becoming content creators, I think that somewhat builds up a confidence for them also, that even I can do. So whatever that they have, and I think the level of like opportunities and freedom also we have, in this generation, where how many things
Hmm.
we can turn into a profession. Back in the day,
Yeah.
we couldn't think of that, and now I think when Gen Z's have come, where internet and the information is openly available, right, was there for our generation. So the possibilities of what you could do and what sort of a living that you could make was a lot more, we were a lot more aware of it. So I think that's why anything
Yeah.
possible that the Gen Z's knew, I think they just wanted to do something out of that, and make convert that into itself into their profession. And I think the fact that that sort of a hobby that they have, that they want to convert that into their passion, I think that's where they end up pushing themselves to towards. And they will continue that 9 to 5 job, because they have to make a living, but they will still
Hmm.
continue that hobby post work, just to you know uh, just so that one eventually maybe this can become something or the other helpful for them. That's why I think the word productive itself has become such a misunderstood word, because I think the
Yeah.
fact that like even after like 9 to 5, they feel like, they feel like, I still need to do work, I'm wasting my time with
Mm.
the whole hustle culture, where you're seeing people who are literally working 18 to 20 hours in a day, and these people are working 8 hours
Yeah.
a day. They feel like I'm not doing enough work when you end up seeing that. So I think when you see
Yeah.
people, when you hear stories like this, where they're like, I work 16 to 18 hours a day, I think it does, build up and add up to them, what they really like, that they feel like I'm not being productive enough, and they push themselves.
Yeah, exactly. And like you hear many of these, what do you call financial gurus? They say like, okay, you have to do your 95, but
Mm,
what you do from, after the 9 to 5 till the time you sleep is like
mm,
what builds your career.
mm,
And as you said earlier, a lot of these Gen Zs, they take a lot of pressure. They're like, okay, uh, my 9 to 5 is not going to work for me. Like, what am I earning? Like 25, 30 grand
mm,
right now, I think is the base right now.
mm,
And they were like, yeah, it's not working, I need to make a lot more,
mm,
and something that makes me, gets me a lot of respect. Because at the end of the day, like nowadays I feel like these Gen Z guys are a lot more pertinent to getting respect, getting acknowledged by family, peers,
mm,
everyone at the end of the day.
mm,
And right now, unfortunately, the thing that gets you respect is the amount of money you have in your wallet, the mansion you have, the car you
mm,
drive. It's not about like how you are personally and all. It's just these are the things that get you respect, unfortunately.
mm,
So that's what Gen Z like figured out, like to get that respect, to get that status in society, to be the best, you have to have all of these things. And
mm,
yeah, that's why it's a lot more pressure put on them, especially. And even as you said, the productive word, people don't feel like, yeah, their 9 to 5 is productive. Like they want to do, do a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot
mm,
more. And in the end, it just end up burning them out. Like they have to realize, okay, take a break, at least maybe 1 2 hours. Don't immediately get off your job and then start
mm,
doing whatever you had to do. Like take a break, or else you'll
mm,
get burned out way too quickly. I mean,
mm,
this race is not a 100-meter dash. It's not a 1 kilometer run. It's like I don't know how many kilometers till you get to that point, but it's
mm,
a long race. It's a race of endurance.
mm,
So you need to know when to pull back, when to take a break.
mm.
So
And also, I think, the thing is, like I said, right, Gen Zs have just started working. So I think figuring out, a
yeah,
work life itself, I think that takes quite a bit of time, like the word work life balance
mm,
that they say, I don't think that's something that you can quickly figure out, a work life balance.
yeah,
So I think,
yeah,
for Gen Zs, when they see, the older generation talking about all work life balance, and, they themselves want to do that, but when they see the people who are doing so good and they're working so many hours, so even at a weekend they want to really, say, they want to do something, they don't just want to sit in a place, they want to do something. It is good actually, just the mindset to push yourself and do something, it's good, it's great. And although, we're
yeah.
talking about burnout, I think that's one of the, in one way or the another, that's one thing I actually appreciate about the Gen Zs, that they actually are
Mm.
willing to push themselves and do, work this hard and do so much, because of seeing, around how many
Mm.
people are there. And it's a good thing actually, but then sometimes, you have to take care of yourself. That's also there.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just say social media plays a lot of role into this. So, which moves me on to my third question. Now, is technology helping or making, burnout even worse,
Hmm.
or are they trying to cope with it?
See, there's one part where, the burnout, they themselves are putting the pressure, but then you also need to know that we are like, things have become more hybrid now, no, for Raj and for the Gen Zs, where lot of them started working during the pandemic itself. So for a lot of people, their
Yeah,
work life became work from home, and it became either it became hybrid for them. And that sort of a work life that they have, and we have spoken about this earlier, no, where work
mm,
from home ends up breaking that your personal life and your professional life, that barrier, it blurs
yeah,
the line to a whole different level, right? Where constantly you have to
yeah,
keep checking your emails, you have to check your WhatsApp, you have to check your messages continuously. And I think, where you're done with 5 o'clock, but then you see at 7 or 8 o'clock you're getting a mail that, this work is there, that work is there. For someone who's older,
Yeah.
who have been working for so many years, this is not for them. It is not. They're used to this sort of a thing. But for someone who's just starting to work, and in the beginning of the career itself, where they're getting mail, a 21-year-old getting an email at 2 o'clock in the night, I have you have to complete this work, that work, and it's somewhat ruining
Yeah.
your entire day, where after 5 you just want to go and meet your friend, and then you see your email over there, and then you have to go back home and sit and finish that work. And I think that
Yeah.
so I think, although there are so much advantages that the generation got, I think equally, it's also blurring that sort of a professional and a personal life in some way or the other. And but in like technology, I don't know if social media is something you can count under technology, but uh, I think in terms of like pursuing and doing what you want, no, I think the fact that a phone is enough to literally make a living. And
Oh yeah.
but at the same time, the phone is the same thing that can completely ruin your mind. And that's the thing about
Mm.
social media, right? It can either be the most beneficial thing for someone, or it can be a complete flip and it can turn everything upside down for you. And I think
Mm.
that's the thing with technology. It has its sort of like ups and downs, but the fact that now every the fact that just takes an email now for them to tell to them to finish the work, and the next day they have to finish the work by sitting all night. I think for someone who's just
Mm.
starting to work, I think it's too much for them to handle.
Yeah, exactly. You also spoke like the work from home thing and the entire pandemic and all of
Mm,
that. So recently, I just had this conversation with my group of friends.
mm,
Like one of them was literally like, you know what, if we started, hustling and during the pandemic,
mm,
we would have, become so much better. Like to
mm,
be honest, I never even met these dudes till last year or
mm,
something. But still, like at least I like in my mind I started thinking like there's this certain TikToker. I'm not going to mention names and all,
mm.
but I think many of you all would obviously know who he is. He just made videos without even saying a word,
Yeah, yeah,
like just yeah, just showing stupid stuff that people do, and showing a simpler effect to it.
mm,
And he gained like millions of followers on TikTok, and of course he made a huge following. He gained millions of dollars. And
mm,
somewhat recently there was a controversy going on, like he said something or did something controversial, and that ended up spiraling down. So of course, like technology can make or break a person, that's there. But of
mm,
course, seeing this guy do it, like a lot of people tried to imitate the same thing, but of course never had that much of level of success, because these
mm,
guys, like their mind started working like after the pandemic or towards the end of the pandemic. Like the reason why he
mm,
was so popular was when people had nothing to do, he did something and made a living out of it. And it was very influential with the people at that point of time.
mm,
But now people are just trying to copy it, and I don't know, they're not seeing that much of success, and then they do a lot of other things, and at the end of the day, like, yeah, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not going to
mm,
hustle anymore. And yada yada yada. And that's
mm,
when the burnout spiral takes place, like the brain
mm,
clashing down. Yeah.
mm. But also the thing is, like, because the phone, at least with now, you have the millennial generation who grew up, for them, like they did have their hobbies were very different from us, right? We grew
Yeah.
up in a generation where, for us, we had phone where we could watch movies, and OTT was right there for us when we were in just in the 10th or 11th standard itself, right, for us.
Mhm.
And at such a young age itself, when we had so much wider options for entertainment, which was so easily like accessible, I
Mhm.
think that also ends up playing a huge role in how much it ends up affecting how much the focus also, that attention span, that they say
Mhm.
has ends up reducing a lot, during that time. So I think in one way or the other, the fact that the attention span itself it reduces, I think that also affects in a way.
Yeah, that's definitely there. Like, for people who do know, like, we should be really grateful to our parents, for throwing us out of the house and saying, "You go out and play. Don't watch the TV for too long." And
Mhm.
Yeah, and those are the
Sure.
memories of childhood which, really made or broke us. Like sometimes it was very
Mm,
good, sometimes it was very bad. But it had nothing to do with technology at that point. Like it came in
mm,
technology was there, but then again our upbringing plays a very crucial role in how much we use that technology
mm,
and in how much like we get
mm,
influenced. Because like right now, if you take a look, like you have these very young kids, like fifth, sixth, seventh standard, like I won't even say
mm,
eighth, I'll say like just fifth, sixth, and seventh. They are
mm.
so influenced with social media, the
Yeah.
TikToks, the crazy reels that happen, and the whole new words that even came into existence. Like I don't know, like half of these words I don't even know what they mean. Like if I say it looks cool, they have something else to say about it. Like
Say
there's
about
another
it.
word for
Mm,
cool, and I was like, okay, I'm very confused with all these words. Like they're not even there in the dictionary.
mm.
So, spoiler alert: a
Well,
new dictionary might come out for Gen Z.
just a Gen Z dictionary. No, but the thing is, another thing, one of the, I forgot to add this point. I think what mainly technology does is it makes it difficult for Gen Z to disconnect work life and their personal life, I think.
Yeah.
Because Gen Zs are constantly online, right? When you have the previous generation, for them, this technology thing came a little bit later in their life.
Hmm.
But for Gen Zs, where technology existed, from the very beginning, I think Gen Zs are always online. So that's why I think disconnecting, from work, it makes it very difficult for them, I feel. Where after work also they're seeing something on Instagram, and they're, suddenly it's putting themselves very down, and they want to push and they want to do something else, post work. And I think the fact that they're always online, it ends up affecting them in a way that, that whole work life balance that they say, I think it's very hard for them to figure that out the moment, when there is so much of information available online, where one thing after the other you see, and it's hard for them to get out of that thing. It pretty much sucks in for them, the phone.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, like nowadays, we know like many Gen Zs, like even those who have started working recently, they mostly hate this 9 to 5, this traditional nine to
Yeah,
five
yeah.
job. So that moves on to my very next question. Now, why do so many Gen Z workers hate or dislike this traditional 9 to 5 job?
I think, see, for the previous generation, when I mean previous, I'm not even talking about like millennials, I'm talking about our parents' generation.
Hmm.
They grew up in a generation where for them it was paycheck, pension, and that's a long term security, which is why
Yeah.
their generation were going for for government jobs a lot, that
Hmm.
generation, because it was going to give them pension post retirement, which
Hmm.
is a great thing, which is an amazing thing, right? When you see Gen Zs, for them, they see traditional jobs as unstable. They see it as underpaying. They think it's mentally draining for them. So I
Yeah.
think when they end up seeing that, like for example, like when you see 9 to 5 job and the salary that they're getting, and then they end up finding a content creator is putting a 5 minute reel and they're making more money. And
Yeah.
it really, I think it just, when they see the variety of options that is just available, in the open in the market, I think these are the fact that, I think that's one of the things that technology has done to them, that fact that they have enough knowledge loaded with that, they know, apart from this 9 to 5 job, there is so much more out there. And I
Hmm.
think millennials introduced that workplace, that flexibility was introduced by millennials, but I think Gen Z's just demand it because they grew up in that sort of a world.
Yeah.
And I think millennials, they introduced it to make things better, but I think Gen Z's, I think, was it someone, I don't remember, someone was talking about this. I wasn't my sister or what, I don't know, but
Hmm.
she was like telling where there was this one uh, Gen Z guy was working, and the boss, she was a millennial, she was like in her 30s, and
Hmm.
she asked him one day to come to office like 1 hour or 1.5 hours earlier or something, for some meeting or something.
Hmm.
He said, no, I can't come. She asked why, because I have to go to the gym. He li- he told on her face, I have to go. He told her on her face, I have to go to the gym, so I can't come. And the fact that this whole, I think that's why millennials are, pushing themselves hard. Also, the fact they say no to something. He can say no if he wants to, but the millennials, where were from this generation where they saw the older generation doing that 9 to 5 job, and they
Yeah.
wanted to do something different. And when they see the gen
Hmm.
they when they expect that from the Gen Z's, and the Gen Z's are telling, no, I'm not, I have to go to the gym, I have to meet my friends after work. And I think it really for them, they don't know how to react to that sort of a mindset, because there is one world where Gen Z's are they don't want to fit into the 9 to 5 job, but there's another world where Gen
Hmm.
Z's want that 9 to 5 job. Because let's be honest, despite everything that we're talking, 9 to 5 job is a very good work structure, no, in the end. Like, you're
Hmm.
going 9 o'clock, by 5 o'clock you're done, you continue this sort of a life. You can end up making a decent living, you have financial securities in these places where you're getting 9 to 5. When you're gonna
Hmm.
try freelancing or something, financial security is not at all there, no. And even once you
Yeah.
make it, like, financially you're doing good, eventually it might completely fall down for you. You have those sort of advantages in a 9 to 5 job. Gen Z's know that very well, and they which is why, for them, the fact that they want to structure their life in such a way, that the in a way that they have figured out, this 9 to 5 job, and apart from that, the other work life, contributing that to the work, sometimes it's something that they really will end up saying no to. Although I've been talking this much about the fact that Gen Z's push themselves and hustle a lot, there is another group of Gen Z's who really take it seriously, where they structure and balance everything else out. But I think,
Hmm.
when you have this sort of a work to home freedom also, right? And especially in a
Hmm.
city like Bangalore, where now, traveling, it takes at least in minimum it takes 2 to 3 hours, for them to travel overall,
Yeah.
coming and going, and the amount of money that goes in the petrol for them, for that, where you
Hmm.
can end up saving up 5 to 6 thousand, by sitting at home, by working from home, and you end up saving so
Yeah.
many hours. I think that is, when that is an advantage. And the feeling of, the fact that if 9 o'clock is the work time, some people have to leave at 6:30, some people have to leave at 7 o'clock, and then work from home, you can wake up at 8:50 also for a 9 o'clock job. And and
Fair.
uh, and and when you have lunchtime, you don't have to, you can just go, you're at home, so you can eat at home itself. You have that freedom that work from home gives, no. When freelancing
Yeah.
also, you end up becoming your own boss. Although it is very difficult and it
Hmm.
is struggling, there is a group of Gen Z's who want to hustle and push, and they want to, they know the difficulties over there. It's not like they are not aware of it, they know the difficulties, but they're willing to push and work hours for it. But the fact that they get that sort of a freedom, that they want to do exactly what, to achieve what, the whatever passion or whatever hobby that they have. I think, when there is so many, and they've seen the results as well, it takes couple of years, but they have seen the results of it. I think when you have so many options available, from just a regular 9 to 5 job, and 9 to 5 job has its advantages, I said already, but the kind
Hmm.
of freedom as an individual you get in freelancing and in a work from home, it that is also, that I think it's lot. I don't know if I can say it's a lot more tempting, I think, where to see
Yeah.
all of that. And but also the thing is, when you end up freelancing, or when you end up hustling, when you end up working from home, it ends up becoming very lonely, let's be honest. Because
Yeah. That's true.
you're literally going to spend so many hours just by yourself. You need to have a
Hmm.
social life to keep yourself, mentally stable. Otherwise it's going to be very difficult, which is why, like, work from home, and even as I always say, make sure you have a good social life. Because if you're like, after work you're going to stay at home, you're going to spend your whole day at home, it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah. Over time, it will catch up to
Mm.
you.
But your work from home and all, right? So for you, what do you think of this whole thing?
I mean, for me, it's mostly of a hybrid thing. Like whenever I have important meetings, I kind of take it from home because, like, to go there then set up the entire thing. I was
Yeah, a
like,
lot of
okay,
work.
I might as well do it here, yeah, at home. But if you're taking like actual important meetings, like when I have to meet clients and all, that time, yeah, I do go to work and I do get the paperwork to see like who's my client and what am I going to do. Like, what am I going to proceed with them? What
Mm.
kind of dealings are we going to do? And yeah, that time when we have to go and visit the client and various places. You can go either go to their office, or you can either go to a fancy restaurant
mm,
or a nice cafe. That's
mm,
up to you. Like the mood doesn't matter. It just matter how you close the client and
mm,
all. That is a whole different thing. And for me, like since it is more of a hybrid kind of thing, I feel like I kind of wish it was mostly in the office mostly, because like I made quite a lot of good friends over there,
mm.
and very jolly people, like happy-go-lucky
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
And like it's very tough to see like these people sad or anything like that. Like of course work hours are a lot harder, and if it is a lot more burning out like than we expect, like in one day we can get burnt out so quickly.
Mm,
If a deal doesn't go well, we take a lot of stress and all of that.
mm,
But however, like you see these people, like even if it goes good or bad, they're still having that same look on their face. They are determined to do it, and they are happy. Like at the end of the day, you have to be happy in whatever you do, or else you're not going to have that push to do better.
mm,
If you're just placed there, you're going to be like, okay, fine, I
mm,
have to do this. It's just going to be a
mm.
pain. You're really not going to have motivation to do even anything after your 9 to 5. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
okay.
And that also brings it like to the bosses that you have. Now we have a very good boss. Like I won't say it's as good as my first boss, because my first boss, she was like really good. We gelled very very well together. Of course there was a huge age difference between both of us, but I don't know, the gel part was very very freaking good.
Mm,
And all I see the same, almost the same thing here, but not on that extreme level, but it is still there. So
mm,
he's a little bit of an old guy, but he's very nice, he's very sweet. And of course he does give you that flexibility. If you are sick, you can maybe help the other people who are going to see their clients, help them in their documentation and what all they're supposed to do, and what is the background checks they have to do and all of
mm.
that. So it's a lot more little bit relaxed.
Mm.
But then again, like not many people are going to have these kind of bosses who are going to take care of
Yeah,
the employees first and then worry about the company
yeah,
later.
yeah,
Like this guy, I'm not going to say the name or anything like,
yeah,
but
yeah,
this guy,
yeah.
he really he doesn't care whether his company goes to loss or anything. He just wants the employees to do their best. And I think that's why he made a lot of profits. Like just last year or something, he made about 31 crore or something. Not
Wow.
31 crore, like him alone
Oh,
in
wow.
that branch, he made like 31 lakh or 40 lakh or something like that. He made like him alone. And we
Mm,
were like, oh sheesh.
that's
And
great.
he didn't have to do this, but he took us all for lunch and
Mm,
gave us a very fancy experience in some five-star restaurant. I didn't like it. It's just very weird for me. It's not my type of setting for me.
mm,
For me, just a normal kushka and kebab is more than enough.
mm,
But yeah, getting back to what I was saying, the bosses you have, like nowadays, most Gen Zs, like they don't have like really understanding bosses. Like
mm,
I don't know. So that's why like mostly they hate it. Like they don't like doing it. And especially about the guy you told who wanted to go to the gym and all. More power to him. The determination, dedication,
mm,
respect.
mm, mm,
So I can just imagine the boss's face.
mm.
Like you want to go
What,
to the gym instead of
what
coming to
can they
work.
tell? They're asking them to come apart from the 9 to 5 time, no. So she can't even like fire that guy. He just said no.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
But I think like the incentive, like for him to come, will be like, okay, we'll pay you a little bit overtime,
mm,
and then yeah, maybe you can come. I think that would have
mm,
been a better way of handling it, because, of course, we think a lot more different than the people before us, and so we need to learn how to tackle our generation compared to those people. Like they need to learn,
yeah.
because nowadays they are the ones in charge. We are not yet in that sphere yet.
Mm,
Maybe with Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, yeah, we'll be the ones in charge, but
mm,
I'm talking for millennials versus us. Like they need to learn like how to tackle it. Like if you want them to come early, just give them a little bit more incentive. Yeah, they are going to show up
mm.
100%.
Maybe.
So yeah, do you have any final closing statements?
I think as of now we have covered up pretty much everything on the topic. But I think one thing I would like to talk about is the fact that the previous generation, for them, I think financial stability, having post-retirement, having a good life, these were the sort of
Yeah,
goals that they have, and these are amazing goals, and these are great goals. Nothing is wrong with all of this. And but I think for
yeah,
Gen Zs, for them, they want to see beyond that. And I think the one thing I want to tell is there's nothing wrong in hustling and putting yourself out there and putting so many hours of effort, and the fact that you are believing in yourself and doing something that you really passionately want to do. It's a great thing, but also need to understand you need to take care of your mental well-being as well. You need to
Mhm.
understand, the like financial stability might sound like a very old person thing, but it is very necessary, right? A sustainable work is very important. And like imagine in your
Yeah.
resume where you're leaving your in 5 years you left 5 jobs. How will that look on your resume? So I think
Oh, which
yeah,
is
so I think it really is important to like have a sustainable sort of a job, and focus on the
yeah.
well-being and like a personal growth also, and to realize that when you're looking at other people, what they're doing, they also have the difficulties in their profession, but they're not showing it, and for that, when we see from outside, it looks like we're judging the book by its cover. So we really think it's
Mm.
going all amazing for them, and we are looking at what we are struggling instead of looking what is going good in our work. And I think so I
Yeah.
think we need to look at the bigger picture and realize everyone have their own difficulties, and they just have to figure out, and
Mm.
setting boundaries also with work life and personal life. They have to figure, I think, I think balancing that is also so very important. I think now, because Gen Z's have started working, I think they will eventually figure it out. They will, the learning to say no, I think, is very important. I think it will, at this
Yeah.
age where everything, Gen Z's will want to say yes for every single thing that is being asked. I think they learn to say no, I think will end up you know creating some sort of a boundary, like the gym guy said no. And I think like embracing slow success, I think that is another thing that I hope Gen Z's do understand, I
Yeah.
think because the fact that they want to achieve and become big shots at the age of 30 itself. No, I think that is the main that is the sad part. By 30 itself they want to do very well, and which is why by 25 they want to achieve something very huge itself. But you need to understand that person, at although he's 30 and they're doing very well, it took them 10 years to come to where they've come today. So, and you want to
Exactly.
expect that same success within 2 3 years, it's very difficult. So enjoy the slow
Exactly.
process, and just working hard and staying consistent is the what you need to do.
Exactly. And with that said, that officially brings us to the end of today's show.
Yes.
A huge thank you for Johan for joining today's show.
Thank you for having me, Johan. It was great.
Thank you so
Mm.
much. And remember, guys, we air on Mondays at 4:30 p.m. That said, if you guys want to contribute to our topics, have any questions, or just want to tell us what an amazing job we are doing, you can reach out to us at 6364252164. And a huge thank you to our listeners for tuning in to this edition of The Reality
Mm.
Bang, your weekly dose of youth power, brought to you by FEBA Online. This is RJ Johan. Hope you have an amazing week, and I'll see you next Monday. God bless you.